Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com with our Django View project. So where we left off is we have our backend API, which allows us to log in with the user I created, get a token, and we should be able to add, edit, delete posts. Okay, but we need to log. Now we're creating our front end application view, and we set up our router. So we have our router, so we can click between different links. Okay, we took this navigation header from Buffy, which is a component library for Vue, and this footer also from Buffy. And now we're going to build in the login page, which right now is empty. Okay, so let's think this through. What I'm going to do is my app component, I'm going to want to have data. Okay, and what I'm going to do actually, I'm going to close all this stuff, and I'm going to open up another terminal. And I'm going to cd into node front end, and I'm going to open this up in VS Code because this will be easier in VS Code. So code dot. Good. Okay. Okay, so here's all our Vue code, and I'm going to go to my app.view, allow, whatever, save. And I want to add data. Now, why do I want to add data? Because we're going to be handling login. And I'm going to have a lot of components that need to be able to keep track of whether we've logged in or not. So I figured a good place to store that data is in the app component. So data, and again, this is a component, not an instance. So data has to be done as a function. So basically, this returns a function that returns our data object. Cool. And what do I want to do here? I want a couple different properties. I want logged in, which will start out as false. And I want the token, which we don't have, so that'll be empty. Okay, so we're going to have that there for now. And we'll leave it at that. Now let's head over to our login component, our login views, which is right now nothing. So we need to create like a login form. So let's borrow some stuff from Buffy. So Buffy forms. Okay. A field. Okay, cool. So let's see, let's show code. I see. Okay. Okay, be input value. Okay. Very. Okay, so that's all fine and good. So first, let's create some input fields. Okay, so we just take the code from there. I'm going to get rid of this class here for the moment. And we want 2 input fields. Let that just get prettied up. Okay, be input value. Just put username, password. And I really want to bind this with some data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. Name. Actually, let's read the docs real quick. Message, password is too short, type. Add the label position to prompt to modify field style. See here, fields are used to add functionality to controls and to attach group components and elements together. Class. Okay, we'll test it out. So value username, and then this one will be username. This will be login. I mean password. And make sure, is there a password one? Let's see here. Password, there's a password one. Label field, password. Warning, type password. And I'm assuming there's probably a placeholder property. Placeholder equals password. And let's take a look. I want to look over here. So I click on login. We're not seeing anything yet. So let's see here. Is this the login.view? It is. What actually is the server still running? It is. Okay, /login. See here, app login. So it's there. Let's see here. Am I changing this in the right application? It should be. So let's see here. Password. B field. Go back to Bufy. Input. See here, the field label, custom message, help message tags, grouped. Oh, I think I need to register the components, maybe? I don't think so. I didn't have to for the other ones. Because Bufy should be registered globally, but why? Field label password. Let's just see what happens if I copy this thing the way it is. Let's go back to forms. Let's go to input. I'm just going to copy this whole thing. Copy. And let's see what it says. Let's see what it does. What if I just put in some text? Let's see that, if it's just the components or if it's just this component's not working. So then let's go back to routes. So we have login. Just goes to /login. Name login. Let me go back to header. Make sure that I did that right with header. So back to components, header. So login/login. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's go back to router. And /home. And login is coming from views, login, which is right there. So that looks all properly set up. It's just not showing what's in here. Name. Let's restart this. Control C. Okay, so now it's working, so maybe I just had to do that. Okay, so let's do this. Control Z. Oh. Like that. Does that update? And there we go. Okay, good. We have a username and password field. Let's see where the data's coming in from. Message, route, computed. Okay, root classes, new position. Let's see, if I type in Alex Merced, what do we get? Data, this route, Alex Merced is hanging out where? Okay, so it's sending it up to here, login. Let's see here, I don't see any data coming up to there either. If I type in password here. Oh, maybe it's actually on the input field. So let's see where this data is coming from. Okay, so there's Alex Merced. So the question is now, how does this component emit Alex Merced so I can use it? Username, route, computed, props, refs. I would probably have to read up on how to use refs, I'm assuming, to figure out how to use this. So I'm just going to use normal input fields to keep life simple. Okay. Input type equals text. I'll just directly use a v model. V model equals username and slash input. And now what I need here is to have username and password. Okay, and then do the same thing for password. Save. Button. Okay, vmail directories unsupported on button elements. Oh wait, this is a button. Yep, so this should be an input too. And this is going to be password. And then we're going to have the button. log in, and we'll actually have to put those two properties in data. So I gotta create data. So data, and again, that needs to be a function that returns an object. So let me copy these two properties in there. Cut. Cool. Let's just see if I see the form. Yeah, that's fine for now. Cool, 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 cool. So we got that. Very nice. Okay, and since I got this page opened up to Bulma, let's take a look here how I can maybe style those form elements. Let's have classes I can attach. Fires. Class input is primary. Let's add those classes on there. So let's see if that makes a difference. Control V, Control V. Yep, that's a little bit nicer. And let's go back to the Bulma library. And let me see here. How about for a button? Button, elements, button. Let's style the button. Class button is, let's do danger. Class button is danger. Sorry, the button looks nice too. And I will put a BR tag so that way it breaks onto the next line. BR. Good. And let's take a look at how it looks. Because again, by using Buffy, you automatically have Bulma inside of there. So not only can you use these pre-made view-based components, but you can also just use anything that's already inside Bulma ready to go. So that's pretty nice. So there we go. There's a login form. I could play around with it and make those input fields slimmer, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Okie dokie. Okay, so now what we want is a function that will, one, log in, and if we log in successfully, tell our app component that we've logged in, which is difficult because now that we don't have everything in just one instance, one view instance, and just work out of one view instance, I have to think about how data moves. Okay, because basically the app can send data down, but components can't really send data up, like through props or anything. We have to do something a little bit different. So what we're going to do is get out of data, make a thing called methods, and then we're going to put our handle login function there. Should be a function, and essentially what it's going to do, it's going to do a fetch to slash http slash www dot localhost, no, http localhost, and I think it's 8,000 if I remember correct. We can go back and take a look in a second. So let's go back to our Django server. Yep, 8,000, localhost 8,000. And if I remember right, it's slash. Let's take a look at what the URL was for the auth. So back to our notes backend, into the urls.py, and it's API token. Okay. And yeah. What we shall do is I want the URL to be passed into here. Okay. So right now I want the URL to equal http / localhost 8,000. I don't want to be typing this all the time. So what I am going to do is I am going to pass that. There's a question. How to pass props to my routes. Okay. Oh, well, here's what I can do. I can pass it as a prop to URL. So we'll say URL v bind URL equals URL. That'll bind that property there. So that's going to send down the URL to header. And then it's in header where we have the link. And where is the link to login? Over here. And I think I can then rebind it. So v bind URL. And then I'm sending it down to there. Now let's just double check that that's working. So let me go to app login. Now is header getting URL? Header is receiving the URL. The route is not. How about this dot route? Meta. Let's explore some of this stuff. Okay, so the next thing we want to explore is view router, how to pass props to routes. Passing props to route components. Okay, so let's see here. Routes component user. When props useful, when the props are static. Params. Let's see here. D component user props true. Okay, so we just need to modify our route to have that in there. So let's see here, router login path props true. So that means that should then get passed in. So let's go back over here. If that worked, now in my login, I should see in my route, in my params, I should be getting, but I'm not. Let me refresh this page. Okay, and if I go to login, route, params, let's examine those docs again. Default. So props. Component props. A function that returns props. No. Let's see here. Props. I guess there isn't really a good way to do that. So that means I won't be able to shortcut it that way. Boo. So I'll just hard code it for now. HTTP localhost 8000 API token. Okay, that's the thing. Okay, and we already have the URL there, but now we need to pass in the method, which should be a post. We are sending in JSON data. So we need our headers. Headers, which is going to be another object, and we're going to have content type, and then the value is application JSON. And then on top of that, we're going to have body, which is going to have to be JSON.stringify. And we're going to stringify a new object that has username that equals this dot username and password that equals this dot password. And put a comma here. Save this so that way it gets all prettied up. And cool. So that is, let me just see where that fetch ends. The fetch ends right here, I think. Yep. Okay, so then after the fetch ends, we want to do a dot then. We're going to get a response, which we then have to turn into JSON. So response.json. And then we're going to dot then after that. Dot then. We get back our data. And right now, I just want to console.log data, make sure that we're getting back what we think we're getting back. Cool. And then we need to make sure that button actually runs the function. So I could just do like v on. There's actually a shortcut. I can do @click. That's the same thing as doing v on click. And say on click, we're going to do this function, handle login. And there we go. So let's see here, back over here. Okay, refresh. Type in Alex Merced. The password is password. Let's go back to the console. And let's see, do not use built-in or reserved HTML elements as component ID. Property or method URL is not defined on the instance, but referred to during render. Send the property. Okay, we'll come back to that. We hit login. Oop, we got an error. Let's see what the error says. Access to fetch locals from origin. Okay, so we're getting a CORS error. That's fine. Okay, so what we need to do, I think what we need to do is go back over here to our settings.py and see right here where it says allowed host. That's like who's allowed to access. I think we just put an asterisk in there, and that should mean everybody. Save. Okay, and then I'm going to restart the server. Okay, well, I think it wants quotations around that. Okay, let's run the server. Okay, that looks like it's working okay. Let's refresh this. Okay, let's make sure this says password. Now hit login. And we get a CORS again. Nope, it says do not. Oh no, I did get a CORS error again. Has been blocked by CORS. Response pre-flight request. Okay, so let's look that up. Fixing CORS on Django. Okay, so we're going to have to install this library. So let's do that. Control C. So back over here, I'm going to kill the server for a moment. Control Shift V, or paste. Pip install that library. Okay, so that's installed. I'm going to update my pip freeze requirements.txt. I just want to make sure that's always up to date. Okay, and then what I want is to install that library. So let's go back to the docs. CORS header, so we need to add that in there to install the app. So let's go back to settings.py, up to installed apps. CORS headers, save. Let's make sure we tab on this. There we go. And let's go back to the docs. Okay. Then we need to add this to middleware. So copy. Let's go find the middleware section, which is right here. Okay. Good, good, good. That's all fine. Configure the middleware behavior in your Django settings. You must have at least one of the following settings. So CORS, allowed origins. CORS. For now, let's just change this. CORS, allow or origins. If true, all origins will be allowed. Okay. So let's do that. And change that to true. Actually, it's Python, so it's got to be capital true. Okay, that works for me. I'll take this asterisk out of here. I will save. And then let's restart the server. Okay, so let's see if we still get a CORS error. Back to our front end here. Wherever that is, right here. Let's refresh. Okay, password. Then hit login. And it worked. Okay, good. So now we are getting the token. But we want that token to float back up. Now specifically we want the access token. Okay, when you see two tokens like this, the idea is that the access token has a shorter expiration life. So the idea what they want you to build in is that you would use this token to access the different resources from the back end. And if for some reason this token expires, you can send this token to refresh this token. They don't have to. Basically, you can set up a process behind the scenes that does the refreshing and updates the token without the person having to log in again. I'm not going to do that. Okay, if the token expires, you're just going to have to log in again. But let's go back here and let's see how we'll do this. So now we know that we're getting the right data. So that's successful. What we're going to want to do is do this dot emit. This is like a special view function. What this does, it just allows you to emit an event. Okay, and the thing is that components above you can then listen for this event. Okay, or at least the parent component that rendered the component can listen for the event. So this dot event, we're going to say logged in. So you logged in successfully. Okay, so logged in. And then basically what you're going to do is you're going to pass in data. So basically when this event happens, the parent component can listen for this event, and we're going to pass in this data object as sort of something that comes with the event. Okay, so that's what we need to do there. Now what I want to do here is back in the app component, we need to go listen for that event. Okay. So I'm pretty sure it should be at logged in equals, and then we put the function that we want to happen when that happens. So that's the event it's listening for. So we just need to make a function that handles that. So let's just call the function login. Okay. So over here, after data, we need to create a methods object. And then here we're going to have login as the function. And actually we need to pass in that event, that data. So we have to do this. So you're passing in the data from the event when that happens. So that's that whole data that we sent up. Okay, so then we have to create a function called here login function. We'll just call this data. We'll have to have a parameter called something. Actually, we'll call this the event. Why not? That's just whatever the event sends over. Okay, what we want to happen here is a couple different things. We want this dot logged in to become true. We want this dot token to equal, and so what do they call that? Was it the access token? No. Wow. What we will do is we'll change this to tokens and make this an object so that we can have both tokens. Tokens will equal data, or the event. And then we want to change the page. So then what we'll do is we do this dot router dot push and just say, hey, we're going to push to here now. So switches pages just to see if that works. So again, this is the router object. Again, router is installed, so we have access to this object from everywhere. And push allows you to change the URL so that we can say, hey, when this happens, let's take it to another page. Okay, so let's just see if that works first. So when we log in successfully now, it should take me back to the main page. Password. Let's see, property method URL. Okay, let's refresh this page. Okay, and again, I want to change this to password. I click the login button. Nothing's happening anymore. That's strange. Property method URL. Okay, those aren't new errors. Those were there when it was working. So let's go back to login. Let's just take a look at our handle login function. Oh, it's because I took out the console log. So let me add that back in just to make sure that we know that this is all working fine. Console.log data. And let's go over here and add a console log just to know that this is running. Event heard. Just want a little something so I can know that this stuff is happening. So let's refresh. Password. I hit login. Okay, so it did successfully log in, but the event doesn't seem like it got emitted. This where is it? Back to login. This dot emit logged in data. That technically seems to have happened. And app is supposed to, oh, because I put it on here on at logged in. Let's try this. Cut. Actually, really, I think I want to put it here because it should bubble up from the router. So let's try that again. Because header doesn't create the event, router creates the event because it's a route. So the idea is that the login should bubble up to router, and then router should bubble it up to app. I'm assuming. Okay. Password. Got it. Cool. That worked. So as we can see here, see it's flipped pages, and then we see that little console log event heard. So now if I go to view, and I go to app, see logged in is now true, and I have my tokens. Okay, at tokens.access, tokens.refresh. So I am good to go. Okay, we can now just start doing minor stuff like making the login button turn into a logout button and things like that. But I will leave that for the next video.